I'm a sippin', and I'm a talkin'. If you know hee-haw, you know where I stole that from. If you don't know hee-haw, I just feel sorry for you. A palate cleanser. Orange cream Coke. Some people use water. In fact, most people use water. Some use oyster crackers, some use various things. The only thing that really works for me to cleanse my palate is Coke. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for whiskey. And just so you know, if you don't already, I'm a bourbon guy. I like Scotch now and then. I like Irish now and then. I like rye fairly often. I like good corn whiskey, but if you had to nail me down to just one, it would be bourbon. Well, we have here Knob Creek, but this isn't just any Knob Creek. This is Single Barrel Select Bourbon, Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. You can maybe see that. And it is a store pick. I don't know if you can read that strip there. I can't tell how. I don't believe it's focusing real good. But it says Single Barrel Select Bourbon, Kelly's Liquors. The actual name is Kelly Liquors. It gives the date, warehouse, all that kind of thing. The date, I already said that. This is 120 proof bourbon. It is the very big brother of Knob Creek 9 year. Now we'll see how this works setting. I'm going to have to scoot over. One of the things that I like about this new setup, which I have described in another video, is that I can put the bottle where you can see it. Trouble is, I'm recording on my phone. That's part of the new setup, and that means that I'm looking right through here. The lens is right over here as I look at it. $120 proof. When I take a little more cautious sip, honey. This is my 5th bottle of this. It's a store pick from Kelly Liquors, which is a New Mexico chain. I think they have a store in Santa Fe, maybe one down in Berlin or somewheres, but most of them are here in Albuquerque. There's one just right down on Juan Tabo, but I don't go there because where I get gas has a Kelly Liquors right there in the shopping center, so I get gas, I go in Kelly Liquors. I can put the two errands together and save some time and gasoline. Gasolina. Yo hablo un poco español, tengo un buen acento, tengo buena pronunciación, pero no tengo vocabulario ni gramática. And that's about all the Spanish I know. I've run myself out of what I can say. But with Sippin' and Talkin', as I'm calling this this series, this playlist, whatever you want to call it, I talk about what I want to. You know, if you don't want to hear Spanish, that's fine. Where I live was Mexico for a few years, and for a long time before that was Spain. There are people in this state, in New Mexico, whose families have been here since before there was any such thing as the United States, and who have been speaking Spanish for 400 or 500 years in this state as it is now. So, if you don't like Spanish tough toenails, I speak a little of it. Tain't a thing wrong with speaking another language. My wife speaks Korean as her native language. Even though I've been drinking bourbon for nigh on 5 years, I still have to be careful with 120 proof. There's vanilla in that nose. I think maybe I'm getting some cinnamon. It's spiking in my right nostril, which doesn't detect odors. All it detects is alcohol. Alcohol. You know, I sound like an ignorant hick. Well, I'm a hick. And as Will Rogers said, everybody's ignorant just on different subjects. So I'm ignorant on some subjects. But I'm also a pretty sesquipedalian guy when the occasion calls for it. I'm not uneducated, it's just that I am an autodidact, and I am proud of being a Texas hick. And I really have no use for people who are ashamed of being country folks. Have no use for people who are ashamed of being Southern. I especially have no use for people who are ashamed of being Southern country folks. If there's anything to be proud of, it ain't being a city boy. So I'm getting the honey, I'm getting the vanilla. I sound like a hick, tough toenails. But that honey and vanilla are so powerful coming up on the 120 proof fumes that I'm really not getting anything else. But the thing about this stuff is, I believe I mentioned this is my 5th bottle right here. The first time I ever gave it a sniff, it was in a little plastic sample cup. You know, what you put samples of relish or what have you in. And the first thing I got, I looked right at the guy who'd given me the sample and I said, honey. And he smiled. He knew this stuff. He was one of the people who helped pick it. I'm assuming from things I've seen, and whenever I'm in there, there's never really time to just stand and talk. Liquor stores seem to be that way. But he seems to be the manager of the Mountain Run store. Yeah, that's all I'm getting. If I put my nose any further in, it's just going to spike me with the alcohol. So let's have a sip. That is rich. I don't know your opinion of cheesecake. I love it. And if I could, I'd eat a whole cheesecake at once. But I can't eat but a piece because it's so rich. The flavor's rich, and you just can't eat too much of it. At least I can't. This is like that. Now, Knob Creek is from Jim Beam. And these people who say, and I have no reason to doubt them, that they always get a peanut note, or at least some kind of nut note from Jim Beam products. I don't. The only nuttiness I get is peanut shells on the nose from Heaven Hill juice, and nuts on the palate from George Dickel. I get pecans on their Superior recipe, what used to be the number 12. Last time I had a bottle, they'd changed the label. And walnuts on their Bottled in Bond. Was it Bottled in Bond? Yeah, Bottled in Bond. I was thinking maybe it was a single barrel, but I haven't had their single barrel. And one barrel may not have that, because with a Bottled in Bond or anything else, you're batching multiple barrels together to get the particular profile you want. This, by the way, is a single barrel. Store picks, bar picks, whatever, picks are always single barrels. You go to the distillery, whether it's one person or a group, and usually it's a group because a single barrel of whiskey costs a fair amount. You go there and they'll lay out, I don't know, half a dozen barrels maybe, and you taste through them and you discuss it and you decide which one barrel you want, and that's this. In fact, shoot fire. It's giving me a warehouse, and shoot, that print is so tiny. I think that's the floor, the rick. It doesn't tell me which barrel it is. And I hope you could hear me. I'm recording on my phone, so any unprofessional results are due to the fact that it's thoroughly amateur. But this is a 1 barrel. And Knob Creek, for the single barrels, always proofs it down to 120 proof. And that's proof. You know, the maximum barrel entry proof is 125, just 5 points lower than this. And I can't remember where I was going with that. But anyway, this is a Jim Beam whiskey. All Knob Creek's from Jim Beam. They have a number of brands. There's their Jim Beam line. There's Knob Creek. There's Booker's. There's Baker's. There's my brain's going blank. Old Granddad is Jim Beam. Old Overholt Rye is Jim Beam. And they produce some fine whiskey. This is fine whiskey. Don't judge Jim Beam, excuse me, by their white label bourbon. That's 80 proof. It's 40% alcohol, 60% water. It tastes and feels in your mouth like it's about 2% alcohol. It's very basic bourbon. That's all it is. It's bourbon. You know, if you want a bourbon and branch or bourbon and Coke or some kind of mixed drink, it'll do. But Jim Beam produces fine whiskey. This is fine whiskey. And the first couple of 3 bottles of this I bought, I really couldn't afford. I scraped money together. I let one thing slide. I decided not to do another thing. And I'm in better financial shape now. And so I can afford, well, this one was down a bit. This bottle here was $53.99, 54 bucks. The others had been about 56. And well worth it. I'd pay 60 for this. No hesitation. If I had the money and I wanted this, 60 bucks, I wouldn't hesitate. Honey, cinnamon, butter. I'm getting just a tad bit of peanut on the palate now as it goes into the finish, and you know, that might come and go. It's just a hint. I might pay 70 bucks for this. I have paid 70 bucks for whiskey. Hard Truth from Nashville, Indiana. Yankee whiskey. Hard Truth Sweet Mash Rye is about 70 bucks at Kelly Liquors. I've not bought a bottle anywhere else, at least not yet. It's worth 70. I might pay 70 for this. It's that good. Now, I don't want to snort down the whole glass while I'm doing the video. This is my 4th glass of the night. Now, this is the 2nd video I've recorded tonight, which makes 3 videos I've recorded in the Sippin and Talkin series. I don't know whether I'll upload them in the order I made them. I might just grab one at random. I might just say, oh, that one I want to put up. So don't count on getting them in order. But this new method of recording I've got, I can record at least one a night. If I upload one a week, I'm going to get ahead of things again. and that's where I want to be. But this is my fourth glass of the night and the highest proof. I started off with Balcones Texas Pot Still Bourbon, which is 92 proof. I went to Evan Williams Bottled in Bond, which by law, all bottled in bond whiskey is 100 proof. Then I went to Clyde Mays Straight Bourbon, which is 92 proof. And now I'm on this 120 proof. Now you take them others, you got 92 plus 92 is 184 plus 100, that's 284 proof by my math. Obviously it don't work that way, but I do have alcohol in my blood, and the only thing that gets alcohol out of your system is time. You might get somebody's senses operating better temporarily through a cold shower, through a lot of coffee, through what have you. But the alcohol is still there, and the liver only processes it at a certain specific rate, which does not change. And though I don't gulp my whiskey, I space it out. It's 1:07 Friday morning here in Albuquerque. I've been drinking then for about 4 hours. No, this is only my fourth glass, so I'm certainly not speeding along, sliding it down. I'm making it a point not to get drunk. But still, it is alcohol, and there is an effect, and I do feel it. And so I back off when it begins to really obtrude on me. But this is fine whiskey. There's butter in there. Definitely on the finish, and this is not normal. As I say, I'm getting some peanuts, just a hint. Getting a little bit of oak. The cinnamon, and for 120 proof, it's not a long finish, not as long as you'd expect, but there is still a burn right in the center of my tongue. And I don't know if the microphone will pick this up, but see if you can hear it come down. I love the sound of a glass coming down on. This is a piece of marble about yay long, yay wide. Well, I can't do it. And anyway, it's a cutting board, marble cutting board, weighs 50 tons, but it makes a nice satisfying sound. And you bring something down on a wood surface, it makes a satisfying sound. Some whiskey drinkers listen for the pop when the cork comes out. And I've got some bottles that go boop, and some that go boom. But to me, that's not the point. The point is, I want it to close the bottle, and then I want it to open without any fuss and bother. I don't much care what it sounds like, but I like that. As you can see, well, you got to see the whole thing. It's about half empty. And this scribbling here on the back, I saw a video on YouTube where a reporter had gone to Garrison Brothers, which is down in Hye, Texas, H-Y-E, Hye, in Blanco County. Not real sure where that's at. Texas is a big place. You know, Alaska's big, but just because it's so huge doesn't mean Texas is small. It ain't. You know, you can drive for a week and still not be across Texas. You can drive for 3 days and not be across the Panhandle. And, you know, the city slicker went to visit his rancher cousin in Texas. Rancher picked him up at the airport. We drove out the city, kept on going through the countryside. After about 6 hours, the city slicker said, "Say, cousin, when are we going to get to your place?" And the rancher said, "Oh, we've been on my place for the last 4 hours." Everything's bigger in Texas, including our humility. I'm very humble. I'm very proud of my vast humility. And if I can ever get back to Cisco again, I think I want to live in Humble Town. But that's a whole nother deal. I'm not even going to explain it. I'm already at 21 minutes. But I saw this video of a reporter at Garrison Brothers, and the guy, Dan Garrison, one of the co-founders, he signed a bottle for her. And I saw that and I thought, something that'll write on a bottle. So I hunted around and I found out what they were, and I ordered me 4 of them, and they're like magic markers. They're like Markalots. I don't know, do y'all even remember a Markalot? And now everybody got a Sharpie, but they used to have what they called a Markalot. And they write silver on the glass, and you know it'll rub off because glass does not absorb anything. But I have taken to writing, we'll see, I don't know how well you can see it, let me tilt it so it gives them the color. I write the date, where I bought it, and the price. So this was May 14th of this year. I got this particular bottle. Got it, of course, at Kelly Liquors, and it cost me, as I said earlier, $53.99. Now, I have 3 apps on my phone. I got a booze app. My brain just went blank. Only Drams and Whiskey Shelf. Each one excels in a particular area. None of them excels in all the areas I want. And I've been lax in keeping them up, so none of them has my complete collection in it. And Only Drams especially has things in it that I haven't had in weeks or months. But this is moving right along. I try to keep them short. I'm failing miserably. Haven't got to anything I intended to talk about in this video other than the whiskey. But then that's the nature of this series. Sippin' and Talkin' is sipping whiskey and just shooting off whatever comes into my head. My Whiskey Basics series is very specific. My whiskey reviews are very specific. My miscellaneous playlist is not specific. And Sippin' and Talkin' is going to be what you've seen here. So, this goes out of the way. I pick up the glass. I am pretentious. You might want to check out Bourbon Real Talk. Randy Sullivan does his own commercials for his own merchandise, and one of them is pretentious whiskey reviews. He has a brandy snifter with presumably whiskey in it. I'm getting a hint of Bolivian virgin tears. I also like the one where he and Wes, can't remember Wes's last name, he and Wes are trying to one-up each other with merchandise they have, and there's an extra schmedium t-shirt. You know, sometimes Randy Sullivan irritates me, but his homemade commercials are funny, most of them. Anyway, maybe one of these days I'll think to talk about bourbon channels I like and I want y'all to see. But go check out Bourbon Real Talk. And with that, I'm just going to have to cut it short by main strength and awkwardness. We have a glass of bourbon, I look into the camera, you're looking back at me. If you're still here, maybe you run off a long time ago and said, who is this moron? But here's how.